Hey y'all, we are back. This is Nerdad. We are playing Baldur's Gate 3. Where we left off last time, we created a character. We got off of the nautiloid, and we are now on a beach in the middle of nowhere, and we'll be starting off. So, some of the goals that we're going to have for tonight is we are going to get a hold of all of the party members that we can find in this general vicinity. Going to be collecting some items and stuff, and we're also going to be going inside of an old crypt, and we'll be working through that. And then from there, we'll see where we go. All right, so again, we did start off on the beach. This is right after we crashed, so we're going to be making lots of use of the Alt key, because remember, the Alt key will highlight things that are generally interactable. Not all interactable things, but a lot of them. All right, so right up here, another really useful thing in addition to the Alt key is you hit the tilde key. It will highlight or unhighlight both yourself and any NPCs that are in the area. That'll also make it really easy to see like what you can interact with as far as like actual things that you can communicate with. Yeah. All right, so same deal. Alt key, mangled fisher right here. Kind of makes you feel a little bit bad about these super innocent fishermen that are just, sitting on the beach, and then all of a sudden a giant octopus falls from the sky on their face. Super unfortunate. It happens to me when I'm fishing all the time. And here we have Shadowheart. I'm gonna go ahead and save this. I do like Shadowheart. And there's the mysterious object that she's got. Okay. So, obviously not going to leave. I'm of course going to wake her, but this is such a bait. This is such a bait, okay? Like, reach for the artifact, because if you've played games like this at all, you know that as soon as you reach for that artifact, her eyes are going to pop open, and she's going to be like, what are you doing? So I will not be reaching for the artifact. I will, in fact, wake her. I don't know if I've ever actually done the reach for the artifact, but it seems obvious. Like, yeah, that's absolutely what's going to happen. All right, so we'll wake her.
You're alive.
It's really aggressive and
I'm alive. How is this possible?
I know. Doesn't make any sense. Oh, sneakily putting away that artifact. Let's see. I was hoping you might know that. And doesn't matter. We made it. I'm gonna go with I was hoping you might.
I remember the ship. I remember falling. Then nothing.
Very suspicious. Let's see. Now what? Do you have any idea where we are? What happened to our Gith friend? She does not like Lae'zel, so I'm not gonna do what happened to our Gith friend. I don't wanna imply that, I care about where Lae'zel is. Even though I do. Lae'zel's pretty great. I'm gonna do now what?
First things first. We need supplies, shelter, and most of all, a healer. We might have escaped, but we still have these little monsters in our heads.
You are a healer. Come on. Don't be messing around with us. Alright, you want to stay together? Do you have any idea where we are? What happened to our Gith friend still? We'll do we. You want to stay together?
We need each other, and we both know what's at stake. Can't think of better company.
The voice actors in this are so good. They're so good. Like, just the nuance that she puts into each one of those words is just, it's great. Alright, let's get moving.
One thing, just before we go. I wanted to thank you again for freeing me.
No problem, it's just a little
It would have
minor
been all
mini
too
quest.
easy for you to run right past my pod, but you didn't. I'll remember that.
Hey, no problem.
Lead the way.
Plus, I think I got XP for it, so I mean, win-win. All right. So now that I have got my main character and I've got Shadowheart in the party here. Incidentally, I think it's kind of cool that the very first possible companion that you can pick up is your healer. So I don't know if that was intentional that they made it so that the healer's the first one, but I do appreciate that decision. But with both of them in the party, I am now going to level ourselves up. This will bring us up to level 2. Alright, with Paladin level 2, we are actually introduced to Paladin spells. Paladins learn a lot of the same spells as clerics do. There are a couple of like more martial spells, and a couple of really good healing spells. Like one of the better healing spells in the game is a Paladin one. I think it's either a level 2 or a level 3 spell, but it's really fantastic. I'll definitely comment on it whenever I run across that. But they learn their spells at basically half speed. So whereas a cleric would have their level 1 spells at level 1, and then they would get an additional spell slot at level 2. A paladin is going to learn their first spells at level 2. But this is good. More spells are good. So class features, we do get a level 1, 2 level 1 spell slots, and then we also get Divine Smite. Divine Smite is pretty cool. What it is it buffs your weapon so that it does extra damage, and it does extra radiant damage, which can be super useful for things like zombies, which are kind of hard to kill unless you do it in a particular way, and radiant damage is one of those ways. So and this is also really nice. If you take a look, on miss does not spend a spell slot, so it is pretty forgiving. And then we'll go over the spells here in just a sec. Also get to pick a fighting style. So the fighting style is really great. Like fighters also get a good number of fighting styles as well, and some are, just depending on your playstyle, perfect fits. So we've got here, you gain a +1 bonus to your armor class while wearing armor. This guy is always going to be wearing armor, so in the later levels, when I get to pick another fighting style, I will probably be picking defense. It's seriously, it's just a flat +1 to your AC, which is great. That equates to about, or actually no, exactly, a 5% or 5% reduction in the enemy's chance to hit you, which again is just fantastic. Dueling. When you are wielding a melee weapon that is not two-handed or versatile in one hand and no weapon in the other, you deal an additional 2 damage with that weapon. You can carry a shield in your free hand and still gain this bonus. So this is really interesting. This is a great fighting style. And it's always a big question for me whether I'm going to do, because basically I'm going to pick 2 fighting styles throughout Baldur's Gate 2. And those 2 fighting styles, spoiler alert, will be dueling and defense. And it always kind of throws me off which one I want to take first. It just depends on how I feel at the moment. Like one day I might pick dueling, one day I might pick defense, but I will pick the other one that I don't pick initially later on. Yeah, this is really cool. Like, I will always be using a shield on this guy, and which means that I'll always be using a one-handed weapon. And with that one-handed weapon in place, I will. It is just going to be a flat 2 additional damage every time I do a hit. Especially starting off, 2 damage is a lot of damage. It's just a lot of damage. It's really good. In fact, like I'm kind of as I'm talking to myself, I'm probably gonna go with dueling. And again, if I had done this on another day, I'd be like, oh, I'm definitely going with defense. But today it's a dueling day, so I'll probably do that. I'll even pre-select it. Great weapon fighting is really good if you are going as a 2-handed weapon fighter, which, again, I'm not. I will always be using a shield on this guy. I want this guy to have like a ton of AC. There is like, so every 4 levels, I get to either increase my abilities, like over here. So I would like increase my strength, or my constitution, or my charisma. Probably my charisma is what I'll max out first, but maybe not. I don't know. I'll see. I'll see what happens whenever I hit level 4. So you can either increase these abilities by 2 points, or you can take a feat, which is like a special talent. And there are so many feats. There are so many feats. But a really, really, really good tanky feat is a feat called Sentinel. And Sentinel basically makes it so that if you get close to something, you make it very, very, very hard for that something to move away from you. We get these opportunity attacks, which means that if you're next to something and it moves away from you, you get a free swing with your weapon using your reaction. So it's typically like free damage. It's meant to make things a little bit more sticky and harder to move away from, but Sentinel makes it so that if you hit something with that reaction attack, it can't move anymore. It loses all of its movement speed. So it makes you very, very hard to move away from. So if I get this guy, he's in a fight, and we get him in a situation where he is just ideally positioned and he's got 3 things on him. Those 3 things are going to have a hard time like moving away from him, but with a huge asterisk behind that, because you only get 1 reaction per turn. So that means you can technically only hit 1 thing. So, I mean, but still, wonderful, wonderful, tanky style feat. Actually, let me talk about that for a little bit. So in D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, like 3rd edition and like 3.5 as well, and Pathfinder, all those editions and all of the prior editions to that, there really wasn't a concept of like tank. There was just a fighter. Fighter was always in the front lines, and there was nothing that said to the dungeon master, "Hey, you need to stick on these tanks." Like, the monsters were free, in as much as the dungeon master wanted to. The monsters were free to like move to the squishy little mage in the back. I guess squishy little wizard. I shouldn't say mage. I'm sorry. But in D&D 4th edition, Wizards of the Coast, I like 4th edition. 4th edition is good and streamlined in really good ways, and a little over streamlined in some really bad ways. But one of the things that I actually really appreciated is that they codified like the holy trinity of like MMO RPGs, and like that holy trinity being, you've got your tank, you've got your healer, you've got your DPS. There were definitely those roles in 4th edition. I mean, like, to the point that they actually basically labeled that they also had an additional role of controller. And the controller, just like it sounds, it was meant to like control the battlefield and change the tides of battle and that sort of thing. Wizards are really, really good at that, which is part of why I love Wizards so much. It's always been fantastic at utterly changing the nature of a battlefield. But anyway, so people argued that D&D 4th edition did the whole holy trinity of tank, healer, and DPS a little bit too much. And so they backed way the heck off of that, off of the holy trinity for 5th edition. But there are still vestiges of D&D 4th edition in D&D 5th edition. And of course, that means that we'll see those vestiges in Baldur's Gate 3 as well. One of those vestiges that was actually introduced in D&D 3rd edition, I believe, is the opportunity attack, which again is something moves away from you, you get a free swipe at it, which again makes things a little bit more sticky. But there's some stuff that we can do for our paladin here that'll make it even stickier. All right. So anyway, great weapon fighting is just whenever you screw up on your roll, you get to re-roll that screwed up roll. It just makes it so that you're way more accurate with two-handed weapons. And protection. This one is a really tanky style, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. What it says is, when you have a shield, impose disadvantage on an attack against your allies when you are within 1.5 meters. You must be able to see the attacker. So this is really, really good for preventing attacks against your allies that are near you. And again, I'm always going to have a shield, so this will always be the case. But I feel like in both Dungeons and Dragons and in Baldur's Gate 3, I'm not next to my allies in melee range too terribly often. The one exception to that is with Astarion. He gets a extra damage whenever he is attacking something that is being attacked by an enemy of his target. So if my Paladin here is standing next to a monster and Astarion is also standing next to that monster, Astarion would get extra damage on his attacks. But that's not necessarily my preferred way of going and granting that extra damage, which is called sneak attack. That's not my preferred way of doing sneak attack. It's always my last resort. Because you also get sneak attack when you have advantage against a target. And that just kind of like solidifies in my brain that I always want to have advantage against a target. And that's true of no matter the character. It's not just for rogues. You always want to have advantage against the target if you can. But having a rogue in the party helps to remind me, oh yeah, I want to have advantage at all times. So I prefer to have something that grants advantage to Astarion so that he can get a sneak attack damage, rather than having him in melee. So, except for Astarion being in melee range, this really isn't going to help my party that much. It's not really going to help my actual Paladin either. So, dueling, such a better choice. Such a better choice. And you guys can argue with me all the live long day. Like I would be more than happy to hear your arguments in the comments. So yeah, if you have a differing opinion, let me know. If you think that I am a total moron and if I want to have like a tank and need to go with protection, let me know. Let me know. But yeah, for now, I'm gonna stick with dueling. An extra 2 damage on all of my attack rolls is perfect. Perfect. So yeah, go with dueling, and then we go to prepare spells. So we're gonna take a look at these spells, and I'm gonna take a little bit of time and read through these. So protection from evil and good. This is a really good spell. It is a concentration spell, which means that I can only be concentrating on it and not on something else. If I start concentrating on something else, this effect goes away. But even with it being concentration, if you notice, it is lasts until long rest, which is super long. It's really rare to have spells last that long. So it's really nice whenever we have that situation pop up. One of the reasons that I do not want my Paladin to be using concentration spells is that every time a creature that is concentrating gets hit, he has to do a concentration saving throw to see if he is still concentrating on that spell. I'm expecting my Paladin to get hit a ton, so I prefer to not do concentration spells. All right. So protection from evil and good. What this does is the target cannot be charmed or frightened or possessed by elementals, celestials, aberrations, fae, fiends, and undead. So basically, like super good things, super evil things. It gets a lot of protection against this. And when those creatures attack it, and this is the big awesome thing, when the creatures attack that target, the thing that has protection from evil and good, that creature has disadvantage to hit that person, which is awesome. That is such a good feature. Great spell. Again, it's concentration. It puts it a little bit lower on my list for a Paladin. I can get protection from evil and good from a lot of different sources, so I'm probably not going to do that. All right, Shield of Faith. Similar situation. It is a concentration spell. It is until long rest, which again is awesome. This just flat out increases your armor class by 2. The great thing about this is it is not limited to all of those creatures that are either, super good or super evil. It is just anything that wants to attack you, it has to deal with an additional 2 points of AC. I like Shield of Faith a lot. Shield of Faith is a really good spell. I am actually going to pull up my spells list, and maybe one day I will show you guys my spells list that I have in place for D&D 5th edition. But suffice to say, I like over-preparing for stuff, and one of the things that I over-prepare for is whenever I make any type of character, what spells are fantastic and good and great and and bad for each level of all of the spellcasters. So, of course, I've got this ready. I'm good to go. Shield of Faith, though, really good spell, especially on a main character in a video game character like I have my Paladin. And he's going to be in the front line. So, again, it's a concentration spell, not my favorite. I can get Shield of Faith from other sources like the Cleric. So I'm not super concerned with having Shield of Faith on my Paladin, but in a pinch, it might be nice. Shield of Faith, so far, wins over Protection from Evil and Good. All right. Command. Command is a wonderful spell. Command is you can command a creature, and if it fails its saving throw, then you can command it to do a one-word action. So you can command a creature to... In Baldur's Gate 3, you can command it to flee, or approach, or move closer, they call it. Freeze, drop to the ground, or drop its weapon. Super versatile spell. And this is a spell that actually remains useful for a long time. Flee, it will move away from you. For one turn, it just moves away from you. That it's a free turn that you get for ranged attackers, for people to get into position, for ranged attackers to attack it as it's moving back towards you. Move closer if there is a ranged attacker that is bugging the crud out of you, and you just can't pick it off. It's just not in a good position. You can tell it to move closer to you, and it will spend its turn dashing to you. So not only does that prevent it from attacking for one turn and gives you a little bit of breathing room, but it'll also put it in a position that might be more advantageous to you and get it closer into melee. Freeze, it will just stay still. It will not do anything its next turn. Freeze, I think that flee and approach are far better options because it usually accomplishes something extra to the freeze, but freeze is good too. Drop to the ground, I'm going to skip over right now because that's super important here. Drop its weapon, yeah, this is huge as well. For the most part, the stuff that we're going to be fighting is going to be pretty... like low key. It's going to have simple weapons and everything, but still those weapons weapons are always going to be strong compared to an unarmed strike, which is what they're going to be stuck with if they drop their weapon. Because one of the wonderful things is you can drop its weapon and have one of your other characters, like in the party, pick up that weapon. But there are many situations in which you are fighting something that is brutal, has a just horrific weapon, and it is just shredding your party. Hey, guess what? If it fails its saving throw, it's an immediate bonus to how you handle this whole situation. Great spell. And let me talk about drop to the ground. So when something drops to the ground, it's prone on the ground. It loses a lot of its movement speed. If it wants to get back up, it takes a lot of movement speed to get back up. And here is the deal. Prone creatures grant advantage to attacking creatures if that attacking creature is in melee. And here is the key. Here's the key. I will always and forever be looking for opportunities to have my enemies grant me advantage. So in this case, again, Astarion, if he's sitting there in melee with me, I can use command to have something drop down to the ground, loses half its movement speed, but Astarion will actually have advantage against that creature for at least for the next turn, which will allow him to hit, and it'll give him the sneak attack advantage. So command is a super useful spell. Compelled Duel, This, I don't like this spell. I don't like this spell at all. So what this does is it forces an enemy to attack you, and it gives it disadvantage against other targets. This sounds like a wonderful, wonderful tanky spell. The whole like disadvantage against other targets is nice. It would be so much better if it granted disadvantage against you. I understand why they didn't do that. It's a level 1 spell. That would make it way too strong. Here is my big, big issue with this. The big issue is that you are forcing an enemy to attack you over and over again for 3 turns, and it's a concentration spell. It's like a huge contradiction in what it's capable of. I don't like it. I don't like it. What I do like, however, is Bless. Bless, okay. So you can bless up to 3 creatures, or 4 if you upcast it. They gain a plus 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws. And that lasts for 10 turns. And let me tell you something. 10 turns is about all a fight is going to ever last. So this is just a flat bonus to their attack rolls and their saving throw defenses for an entire fight. So one thing I do recommend with this, this is concentration again. Not my favorite thing, but that's kind of the name of the game. But as far as like the concentration spells, like Bless is the one to get in the. If you're gonna pick any concentration spell for level 1 for a paladin, make it Bless. Make it Bless. Bless is such a useful spell. So one thing I do recommend is if you know that you are about to get into a fight, and you see a group of enemies, you're still like in full motion mode in Baldur's Gate 3, switch it into turn-based mode. And you can do that by doing shift and space. And whenever you do that, time freezes, so you don't have to worry about, this buff running out before the fight even starts. So you freeze time with shift and space, put you into turn-based mode, and then you cast Bless, and then you can move forward, initiate the combat, and you'll have like the full 10 rounds of Bless. At worst case scenario, you'll have like 9 rounds of Bless because you spent 1 round moving. Let me tell you though, 9 rounds is still plenty of time. So we're good. Alright. Heroism. This is another really good spell, but again, it is concentration. Such a bummer, but make yourself or a target immune to frightened, which is nice, but gain 5 temporary hit points each turn. That lasts for 10 turns, which again is the entire fight. If you are constantly getting hit, that is 50 HP for a level 1 spell. That is awesome. That is so awesome. Again, it would be better if the cleric casts this, so that you're not, you don't accidentally break it. But honestly, like, you get such a huge bonus every single round. This is a wonderful, fantastic spell. So really like this one. I will keep this up. In fact, let me go ahead and remove Compelled Duel. I'll add Heroism. Bless is already up there. Alright, Cure Wounds. Cure Wounds is not my favorite spell. You do have to be in melee range to cast Cure Wounds. And it is an action, as opposed to a bonus action like Healing Word is. But in an emergency, in which case Shadowheart goes down, I need to have Cure Wounds just in case. I'm sorry, my throat is dry. So I might be losing my voice a little bit here. So if I cough right into the mic, I'm really sorry. So anyway, Healing potions are everywhere in Baldur's Gate 3, so this might not be super necessary, especially given the fact that you can transfer healing potions from person to person instantaneously. It's not that big of a deal. Healing potions, super easy to use, super abundant. Cure wounds, I could take it or leave it. I'm probably going to keep it on there just for an emergency. Plus, I am an Ancients Paladin, which means that I have a little bit of extra healing anyway. So, I might take it off. I might take it off. See, I talked myself out of that. Searing Smite, this is just straight up extra damage every time you attack. It does last for 10 turns, so basically an entire fight. It's an extra 1d6 fire damage. And if it catches fire, it does an additional 1d6 fire damage every turn. Really good damage. I'm not the biggest fan of damage spells. Spells are so much better used, like, for utilitarian purposes. Thunderous Smite. I'm torn on this one. I'm torn on this one because... So it does push your target 3 meters away, which can be really good if you need to move, and you can't risk the opportunity attack. That's not usually the case for a Paladin. For a Paladin, I want to get up in their face and stay there and never move. So I really don't need to push targets away every... the only thing that I can think of is if Astarion is sitting there in melee with me and he needs to move, but there's something sticking to him. But Astarion's going to be able to disengage. He'll be able to move as much as he wants. It'll totally be fine. One of the nice things about Thunderous Smite, though, is it does knock the target prone, which, as I discussed before, will grant advantage, but... Alright, Divine Favor. Your weapon attacks deal an additional 1d4 radiant damage, and this lasts for 3 turns. It is a concentration spell, which is not great. And initially, you would look at this and be like, why would I cast Divine Favor as opposed to Searing Smite? Because Searing Smite does way more damage. But this is radiant damage, which can be like super useful. And this is a bonus action. Anything... You always want to fish for bonus actions. Bonus actions are relatively rare, which makes them really strong. So I might put Divine Favor on there again. Having it be a bonus action, huge boom. Oh goodness gracious! I would love to stop coughing. 1 second, I'm going to mute and cough and drink and gargle. Mic off, 1 sec. Okay, all better, no more coughs. Fantastic. Alright, the last spell that we need to talk about is Wrathful Smite. Wrathful Smite possibly frightens your target. It is based off of a Wisdom saving throw. And they will have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls, and they cannot move. This is pretty good. It's not my favorite thing. But as far as concentration spells go, it is pretty okay, because it kind of has like concentration defense built in, because your target will have disadvantage on attack rolls against you, which means it'll be harder for them to connect, which means that you won't be having to roll those concentration rolls. So it's kind of got like its built-in stuff. Again, this is an extra damage thing, and I kind of have a bias against spells that do extra damage. I am going to go ahead and keep this on here, though. I do want to have at least one level 1 spell that does damage, so I'll keep that up there. So what we have here is Command and Heroism for the temporary hit points. We've got Divine Favor for a little bit extra damage for 3 turns. Again, being a bonus action. We will do Wrathful Smite just to kind of Uh, keep a target, like, you know, controlled a little bit. And I think, no, frightened does not grant advantage, so this really won't help out Astarion in getting a sneak attack either, so again, not my favorite spell, but I am going to go with it. And then, of course, Bless. Bless is such a good spell. All right. So with that, we will go ahead and accept his level 2. And now let's do Shadowheart. So Shadowheart right now. So she is, as of right now, she is a. So every cleric gets to pick like a domain. They pick a deity that they worship, and then those deities have associated domains to them. So like, there'll be a deity that's associated with like light and life and fire, I think, or something like that. So that cleric would be able to pick either light or life or fire for their domain. The individual domains give you a couple of extra bonuses, but mostly they give you spells that are always prepared, which is great because as a spellcaster, your big limiting factor are the number of spells that you can have prepared. So if you have spells that you're casting all the livelong day, it's nice to have that cleric aligned with those spells that you cast all the time, so that you can have them always prepared and you don't use up a preparation slot. So, excuse me again. So what we're going to do is, so Shadowheart right now is she's a trickery domain. I don't like trickery domain. Trickery domain is just not my thing. Not my thing. And if I'm gonna have a cleric in my party, it's because I want that cleric to be a healer, which means life domain. So whenever I get the chance, I will be respecking Shadowheart into a life domain cleric. Again, life domain is just overpowered when it comes to healing, and that's what I want. That's what I want. So, her at level 2, she gets another level 1 spell slot. She also gets a Channel Divinity charge. So Channel Divinity lets you do a few things kind of based off of your domain. So first off, all clerics get a turn undead, and it uses a charge of Channel Divinity. And what this does is it turns all undead in sight. So it doesn't really have a range to it. Just if they can see you, they are turned. So whenever an undead is turned, what that means is they have to move away from the creature that turned it. It cannot do anything can't take actions or bonus actions or reactions except for the dash action. And it will do nothing but dash away from you during the duration of the turn. It does end on taking damage, but it gives you so much breathing room. Whoop. I accidentally hit escape too many times. Level up! Oh, hooray! And then, as a trickery domain cleric, she also gets this thing called Invoke Duplicity, which is actually pretty interesting. So what it does is it distracts your enemies with an illusion. Within 3 meters of the illusion, attack rolls have advantage for you and your allies. Both the attacker and the creature must be within 3 meters of the illusion. So again, I'm always looking for things that will grant me advantage. This is super useful because Channel Divinity charges are really easy to come by. Like, you use them up, you get a pile of them first off, and then if you use them up, they're replenished by a short rest. So you're gonna get a lot of Channel Divinity throughout the day. And again, I'm thinking of Astarion. Astarion. Sorry, he was probably listening. He's probably behind me, actually. So him being able to have advantage on his attack rolls so often is really, really solid. But it's not solid enough to make me want to stick with the trickery domain. So I will not be. All right, for her spells, we're going to see a lot of the same sort of stuff. I am more inclined to give her concentration spells because I am going to respec her to be more of a ranged character, which means that she shouldn't be getting hit as much as my paladin, which means that she's not going to have to do those concentration checks, which is ultimately what you want with a concentration spell. So they've already picked out Shield of Faith. I agree with that. I'm going to keep Shield of Faith. In fact, I'm going to wipe these out, and we'll start over here. Protection from evil and good. I like it a lot. I would rather Shield of Faith, so I'm going to stick with that for now. Sanctuary is a really cool spell. So it says, you or an ally cannot be targeted until you attack or harm a creature. You can still take damage from area spells. Until the affected entity attacks or harms another creature, it cannot be targeted by enemy attacks. However, it still can take damage from spells that influence a larger area. This is basically a shield on a single character. Whenever you cast Sanctuary on something, they are immune from direct damage until that shielded creature attacks. If you have something like Fireball that it just explodes in the general area, they will still take damage from the Fireball, but they can't be directly attacked. And it lasts a long time, and it's a bonus action, and it is not concentration. Sanctuary is a fantastic spell if you have a character that is in serious trouble. So that goes on our prepared spells list. Bane is the, well, you can actually tell from the icon. So here's Bless, here's Bane. Hey, look, it's the purple version. So Bane is the opposite of Bless. You pick 3 creatures, and they receive a 1d4 penalty to their attack rolls and their saving throws. This one also lasts for 10 turns. It is also a concentration. This can be really good. I have a tendency to want Bless instead of this. But dang it, it's close. Dang it, it is close. I think just because I've already got Bless taken care of by the Paladin, even if it is a concentration spell, I'm going to go ahead and go with Bane on the Cleric. I feel like that kind of fits Shadowheart's character a little bit more. Command. Again, Command is an amazing spell. I will probably keep that always up. And then we have got Bless. We've already talked about Bless. We've got Cure Wounds. We've already talked about Cure Wounds. Then we have Healing Word. Healing Word. Healing Word. Healing Word in actual Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, as the rules are written, is the most powerful spell in the game. In the game. For a very specific reason. In Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and in Baldur's Gate 3, you don't have negative hit points. Like, whenever you hit 0 hit points, you are not dead. You are dying. You are unconscious. And in previous versions of Dungeons & Dragons, what would happen is you have to do these things called death saving throws. We'll get into that later whenever those pop up. But you had these. You would also be dying, and if you hit like a certain negative hit point total, you were just dead. In 5th edition D&D, there are no negative hit points. You are just at 0 hit points. If something comes up and hits you again, you do not go negative. You just stay at 0 hit points. So the thing is in previous versions of D&D, if you got hit really bad, and you went into like, -8 hit points, Healing Word at its strongest would not be able to do anything for you. It wouldn't bring you back. You would still be dying. But because in D&D 5th edition, you are always at 0, Healing Word will always bring you into the positive. And so the reason why that is so strong in tabletop D&D is because whenever you are dead and you get brought, or whenever you're unconscious and you get brought back up to consciousness, there weren't any penalties. You were just prone. And prone, it takes half your movement to stand up. But then you get your full action, you get your full bonus action, you get half your movement. It's crazy how much you can do after being knocked out. So what people would do is they would use Healing Word and do what's called yo-yo healing, which is to say you had your main tank, he would get dropped down to 0 and get knocked out, and then the healer would come in and like just cast Healing Word, super cheap spell as a bonus action, bring your downed character right back up. They would stand up, they would hit, they would get hit again, and then they would drop, and then Healing Word right back up, and so they'd go down, then up, then down, then up, then down, then up, and up and down, and up and down. And so it's called yo-yo healing. Super, super powerful and cheesy and effective way to play a healer. In Baldur's Gate 3, whenever you are healed from being unconscious, you do not get your action. So yo-yo healing does not work in Baldur's Gate 3. Don't try it. It will not work. But even still, Healing Word is still a super strong spell because it is a small amount of healing, but it is a bonus action and you can do it at range. And whenever I change Shadowheart to be a life cleric, it'll be all the stronger. So yeah, Healing Word is definitely one that I'm going to keep on there. All right, Guiding Bolt. I'm always really torn on this. Guiding Bolt is a wonderful, super high damage spell. Like 4 to 24 damage on a spell that has additional effects is great for a level 1 spell. So the big deal, it does a lot of damage, but it also grants advantage to whoever hits that target next. And again, I'm always looking for ways to grant advantage. So I am going to take one of these off and I'll put Guiding Bolt on. I'll decide here in a second. Inflict Wounds, very, very good damage. 3 to 30 damage. And it's just straight up damage. I don't like this one because, again, I don't like straight up damage spells. I think spells are better used in other ways. And it is a melee spell. That's not what I'm planning on doing with Shadowheart. I will keep her as a ranged. And then Create or Destroy Water. This will either call forth rain or destroy a water-based surface. This is really interesting because not a whole lot of use for this in combat in like traditional Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition because, I mean, yeah, sure, if you're out in the wilderness and you're out in the desert, you desperately need water, Create or Destroy Water is exactly what you need. But Larian has done a great, great job at making this useful in Baldur's Gate 3 because water can wipe away dangerous surfaces, which are absolutely left behind on the battlefield. So this will put out fire that you need to cross. This will wipe out acid that you need to walk through. This can do a lot of really, really amazing things. And straight up, if an enemy is wet, they're going to be more susceptible to cold damage and to lightning damage. So you cast, you do rain on somebody and then have, a lightning attack right after that. It'll do tons of extra damage. So really, really useful spell. I'm still going to keep it off my list for right now. I think I'm going to take Bane off and put Guiding Bolt on. So that ends up with Shield of Faith to increase my armor class. So this will probably be cast on the Paladin. Sanctuary for emergency situations in which I don't want to lose somebody. Guiding Bolt for damage and granting advantage. Command, just because command is incredible, and then healing word for those extra heals. Whenever I transition her into being a life cleric, she will always have cure wounds and healing word prepared and ready to go. So I won't actually have to select healing word, but for now, I will absolutely have healing word. Oh yeah, it can wipe away grease as well. I was having an issue with my chat not showing up, so I apologize. I've been missing some of the messages. So let me kind of go through these. Yeah, yeah, I gotta get that damage. I do need a cure disease. The cure disease is gonna come on level 2 spells, so that'll be like lesser restoration, I believe. Which again, as a life cleric, Shadowheart will always have prepared, and I won't have to like use up her preparation slot for that. And then yeah, like wiping away grease is a big deal. I will be abusing grease so much in this game because I'll whenever we get Gale here in a second, I'll talk about grease at length. But grease is one of my favorite spells in this game. So yeah, we'll hit that here in a little bit. All right, so let's go ahead and actually play the game. So it is worth noting, like you can see here, there's like a backpack over here and a pouch over here. It is definitely worth noting, though, there's also a wooden barrel that does not show up whenever you hold down Alt. See? Not showing up. So you gotta always be on the lookout for these like wooden barrels, these wooden crates, because there's usually stuff inside those wooden barrels and crates. Or, I shouldn't say wooden barrels and crates, just in like these container objects in general, and they will not show up. So, I'm gonna go ahead and grab that. 14 gold, awesome. Go to the backpack. Haha, highlight items. Press left alt to highlight the little containers. Absolutely do that. Alright, this item that I just got was a floppy hat. This is one of the most important items in the game. Not because it does anything, but because it looks fantastic. Look at that. That is beautiful. So here is another really, really good tip here. Backpacks are great. Like, they don't provide you with any extra weight or volume or anything, but they're really good for organizing stuff. So whenever you see a backpack, I like to pick them up because I don't think they weigh very much. I think it's just like they're like one weight. And yeah, you can put like potions in there, so you can have like your backpack of potions. Put scrolls in there and have your backpack of scrolls. So I will usually have like a collection of backpacks that I use just for organization. The other thing that is worth mentioning is like these things like wooden barrels. If you left click and drag them, you can actually move them to locations. And what I will do is whenever I get the little like cubicle wooden crates, I will have 3 of them on basically every character except for my main character here. And the reason being is because they don't weigh too terribly much, and if you stack 3 crates on top of each other and then climb up on top of those crates, you actually get a height advantage to hit on ranged attack rolls, which is wonderful. So a pouch with a healing potion. I'm gonna leave that pouch there. I don't think I want that. Also, plenty of herbs in this area that will allow you to do alchemy and stuff. I don't usually do alchemy too terribly much, but maybe I should. Another dead fisher that we killed by crashing the nautiloid into the beach. All right, and see another example of things that don't show up. So we got buckets of fish right here. Definitely want to leave those. All right.
Fresh water. There must be a settlement somewhere nearby.
I don't understand why he says fresh water, because if you look at that, that looks very oceany. So I don't know why he's thinking that's fresh water. Anyway, another backpack there. We got like a little jug of water. Which is why you need to go through it. Yep. And honestly, like the stacking of the crates and everything, it's not just for getting the height advantage. You can also use it to, like, you know, get to places that are kind of hard to get to. I heard you can even, like, put those crates on top of, like, gas vents in the floor to prevent gas, like, from traps and stuff from getting into the area where you're at. So little jug of water right here. Same deal as the Creator Destroy Water spell. Like, you can actually use this to, you know, put out fires, wipe away grease, that sort of thing. So, good stuff. And that is a backpack, so I will be picking that the heck up. Nothing over there. Back this way. Look at this mangled fissure here. So that was a note that we just picked up. And I buckle up. Sigh. I love you. There, I said it. And if you meet me tomorrow, I'll say it again. And again. And keep on saying it till we're old and gray. So let's do it. Let's go to Baldur's Gate. I know it's risky, but so's staying here. The last few months have been hard, but they're always a little easier when you're there. Leave your boat and meet me at the hill overlooking the old bridge. Bring whatever you can carry. We'll make do without the rest. Don't be late. Love, Anna. Just a little fun little gut punch that the developers decided to throw in there. That's all there is on this mangled fisherman, is this note. He was in love, and look at him. That's what happens when you're in love, guys. I'm just kidding. Love is great. You should all find someone to love. Having a companion makes all of life worth living and better. All right. Oh, and if you'll notice too, I know, right? That is brutal. Darn, that's tragic. Yeah, it's brutal. And like the only reason that's there in the game is just to give you a gut punch, just to remind you, hey, remember when you were trying to save your skin? Yeah, it had some severe consequences, and you're a jerk for doing it. So this is worth bringing up. Whenever you get into a situation or like into terrain in which you can only move at half speed, your feet actually turn red, and you can see over here, like I'm in difficult terrain. I'm moving at half movement speed, and not only that, but I am wet, which means that I am vulnerable to cold and lightning damage, but resistant to fire. I didn't bring that up earlier. So actually, if you are fighting something that is doing a ton of fire damage, it's a viable option to take one of those like little carafes of water or the create water spell and just do some rain right on top of you, get all your party members wet, so that you know, they're not as vulnerable to the fire damage. More dead people. There's a waypoint up there which allows us to teleport straight over here, which is nice. Nothing on the intellect devourer. Grass. Oh, and we see again. I was holding off, holding alt, not paying attention to the barrels. And we gotta check these barrels. Dang it all! Ahaha! Thieves' tools. We definitely want these thieves' tools as much as we possibly can. So whenever you are lock-picking a door, and we'll be doing that with Astarion because he is the rogue. Whenever we lock-pick stuff, if we fail the attempt, we lose the thieves' tools. Otherwise, we keep them. So it is nice to have like a stack of thieves' tools around, just in case. And a violin. Can't use that, but we will sell the heck out of that. All right. So this is one of the places that we'll be checking out today here. Well, hopefully today.
We get that open easily. Maybe there's another entrance.
So, this is one of the great things about the design of this game is that, yeah, okay, here's a door here. It's locked. We are going to have Astarion to lockpick it for us in a little bit. But there are so many ways to accomplish goals in this game. I think getting into this area, there are a total of 3 ways, and one of those ways, there are multiple ways to get in. So it's lots of options. Lots of options. Missed a mangled fixture here. Got mug, got a fish, got gold. And there's Belladonna up there. Alright. Let's take a look at the map. So what we're gonna do... Yeah, there's some intellect hours right up there. So... what we're gonna do here... I don't do this too terribly often, and I even need to see if I have a candle. If I've got a candle, which... Oh, actually, I might not. There's a cool little strategy that you can do with a candle, where if you see a battle coming up, you can drop the candle, and then you have like a way to dip your weapon into the candle, and then you have like fire damage on your weapon. Nice little trick. But I don't have a candle right now, so I'm not gonna worry about it. I'll show you all later. Just remind me if I don't, though. Okay.
More of those wretched things.
More of those wretched things. Let's go this way, and we will finish looting, and then we'll take on the intellect of ours. We want to go up through the crashed nautiloid, because in one direction off the nautiloid, we will have Astarion. In the other direction, we'll have Gale, and both of them I definitely want in the party as soon as possible. More gold in those barrels, and again, keep an eye out for barrels, crates, that sort of thing. They really are easy. That was not the friend of our. Oh, maybe it was actually. Oh. Maybe that was the your buddy. I didn't even think about that. That makes it rough. There's something so disturbing about that intellect of our, but at the same time, it's kind of cute.
Whatever comes, I'm ready.
All right. I do want to get a hold of that intellect of our, but I don't want to walk through the fire. So I'm not sure how I want to go about doing that. I could throw the water over there, but I'd prefer to do it with a spell instead of having to use up instead of having to use up an item. It's fine.
I'll take this way.
Alright, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can even reach them. I cannot. But what I am gonna do is, so right now, Shadowheart, I have her using her light crossbow. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have her dip the crossbow
This'll
in
help.
this fire right here, and if you'll notice, the crossbow is now lit on fire. It's supposed to be the arrow, but it looks like the crossbow's lit on fire. And then I am going to have her move up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So they're moving up. They rolled a little bit better on their initiative than I did. Oh dang, that one was almost all the way up to Shadowheart. that one
Vicious filth.
is able to get all the way
Best
up to
keep some
Shadowheart.
distance, or this'll be a short fight.
Ah. So what I'm gonna try to do here is
Survival is
try
all that
to
matters.
kill this one. Oh no, these are both threatening her. Ah. Oh no, no they're not. No they're not. No they're not. So I think I just need to kill this one right here. I should have a bonus action attack. Oh no, I don't. So I really want to kill this thing on this turn, but I don't think I'm going to be able to unless I use Divine Smite, maybe. Could go ahead and burn a level 1 spell slot, just a regular one. Yeah. We're gonna go ahead and...
What do I have to lose?
Nice. That was exactly the amount that I wanted. That's perfect. That's perfect.
What should I do?
Well done. Okay. And so now, Shadowheart has got her weapon on fire. It's going to do additional damage. Pretty good chance to hit, too. So I'm going to go ahead and... doink. And see that did an additional 3 damage instead of just 5. Which, again, is pretty fantastic. So... with that, I don't want her in melee. Alright, and so with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the turn. Jeez, 9 damage. That was a really good hit. I'm really upset about that. Okay, what do we got here? That one has 9, that one has 2. Man. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to
Another
try to
fight.
kill this
Let's
one.
go.
Oh, actually, see? I need to go ahead and dip my stuff. Always remember to dip your stuff if you can. Oh, the stream is glitching? Oh, okay. Oh, I wonder what is going on there. Hey, let me know if the stream continues to glitch out, and I can try adjusting. Give it like a minute, and then tell me if it's still glitching. Anyway,
My faith will protect
took
me.
care of that. That other one. We're gonna come up here and.
You fight
Nice.
well. Perhaps our survival isn't such a distant prospect.
Nothing. So actually, I think what I'm gonna do, instead of trying to put out this, I'm gonna wait until I have. Oh, let me see. I'm hearing the chat sound, but I'm not seeing the chat. Well, hopefully the stream is doing better. Let me know if it's still having trouble. All right. So yeah, what I was saying is I don't want to step into that fire. I think Gale has Mage Hand as a cantrip. Cantrips are awesome because you can cast them over and over again. They don't use up any resources. And Mage Hand lets you manipulate things from a distance. And so I think I'll be able to loot that from a distance with Gale. But first, we're going to loot the stuff around here. Got a rapier, silver locket, that'll sell for well, and grapes. Just going to straight up jump up there. Dead Mount Flare, healing potion, skull, void bulb. Again, I will reiterate, healing potions are everywhere in this game. So feel free to use them as much as you possibly can. there are also some trippy things you can do with potions in this game. So if you want to have a potion affect multiple of your party members, you can like set it down in between your party members, and then you attack it, just spreads over everybody. So if you want to do like a potion of speed on everyone, drop it down, hit it, it goes on everybody. You can also throw the potion and it will shatter. So if you need to like get some healing out to a group of people and you don't have time to like drop and attack, just throw it. Just don't throw it so that it hits the person you want to heal, because then it'll do damage, and that's the opposite of what you want to do. So don't do that. All right, there is. Yeah, there's something over there. Another recommendation: get used to jumping. There are a lot of places in here that are only accessible through jumping, and you just kind of have to like watch the map. If you see like a little section of accessible part of the map, but it's not connected to anything, hey, guess what? You need to jump. All right, Potion of Speeds. Potion of Speed are really, really good. So Potions of Speed, you gain an extra action, a +2 bonus to armor class, advantage on dexterity saving throws, and double your movement speed. But it comes at the penalty of you being like slow after it finishes. All right. So with that, I think we're gonna go get Gale first. Because I like Gale a lot. Sure, we're going the right way. Ah, who knows? You know what? Actually, I think this is a little bit more linear to go this way, so we will go get this down here first. I know, right? They're not drugs. They're potions. Potions. Again, watch out for those trunks. Oh, and here's another tip. So there is a locked crate. So I'm just gonna put a note. You can just put a note by left clicking on the map. Then I'll put this nice little marker on there. Oh, that is super interesting. Like on the map, it actually has those crates, but I can pick those crates up. Let me check this out. Actually, this is good because I wanted to find crates to pick up anyway. So I picked up that crate right there, but weird, it's still on the map. I guess it is kind of weird that somebody made a map with super temporary, you know, like crates and stuff on it. Like, would you give directions? Like, yeah, you go down the dirt road, and then just wait until you find a crate. Wait until you find a wagon. And when you hit the wagon, take a left. Here's some life advice. Don't go to that map maker. Oh, I missed an intellect power. And there's okay. That's why I missed it. I didn't save after that fight, and I should probably heal as well. Let's see, do I want to use my? Yeah, this does a total of 14 points of healing, and it recharges on short rest. I think I'll just do this. Yep. And then after a few seconds, I will get another 7 hit points. Cool. I don't want to use up the short rest anyway. You do only get 2 short rests per long rest, which I think is a brilliant way to handle short and long rests. But that does mean that you have to conserve your short rest a little bit.
I've got one of those brain things cornered.
And here is Astarion.
In the grass. You can kill it, can't you? Like you killed the others?
Easily stand back or kill it yourself. You look capable enough. Again, I'm not playing this super snarky. This will be a pretty direct in your face that thing. It is also worth pointing out that that is just an exquisite hat. Again, I've mentioned it before, but it's worth repeating here. That is an exquisite hat. Easily stand back.
There. Can you see it?
I like the hangy do on that. Oh no. Oh, I failed a perception check there.
Not a sound. Not if you want to keep that darling neck of yours. And you, keep your distance. No need for this to get messy.
I need him alive. Stow that blade, or I'll show you just how messy things can get.
Like Shadowheart.
Promises, promises. But I have other business, I'm afraid. Now, I saw you on the ship, didn't I? Nod?
So Astarion is super interesting. Like, one of the things that I think that they did not do the best jobs at is spoiling future backstory. Because, like, you look at Astarion, and it's like, okay, he's an elf. Or actually, I think he's a half-elf or something. He's elfish, but he's got these red eyes. And then whenever he talks sometimes, he's got, like, pointy incisors. And you're like, okay, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then if you look closely at his neck, there are, like, 2 little puncture wounds. And it's like, wait a minute, come on, guys. This is... We're not being super subtle here. I will admit, though, he is in the sunlight. Who knows why? Another thing that they kind of, like, play their hand a little bit early is, like, on their... Whenever you click on a character, or whenever it's a character's turn and you instruct them to do something, they'll say things, like, in response, like you typically would in a game, but he says very, look at those incisors, jeez. He says very, blood-related command things. So it's like, gee, I wonder what's going on, guys. Alright, so yeah, I will nod here.
Splendid. And now you're going to tell me exactly what you and those tentacled freaks did to me.
Ah, you have it backwards. They took me prisoner, just like...
Don't lie to me.
Your mind twists. You're looking out of unfamiliar eyes, prowling dark, busy streets. You try to hold the memory, but it fades to the worm. The light, the fear.
What was that? What's going on?
Kinda tempted to grab his knife arm and twist, but I'd rather just communicate straight up with him. It's the Mind Flayer's worm. It connected us.
You're not one of them. They took you. Just the same as me.
Eyes, man. He's got crazy
And to
eyes.
think, I was ready to decorate the ground with your innards. Apologies.
Glad to see we're all caught up now.
Indeed we are. Please, allow me to introduce myself. My name's Astarion. I was in Baldur's Gate when those beasts snatched me.
And the way that Astarion, like, he's not really doing it right now. He's looking down at us because, you know, we're a dwarf, we're super short, but, like, he does this thing sometimes where he, like, tilts his head way back. Like, I've always heard the term, you know, like, turning your nose up at something, but my gosh, like, whatever motion capture they did on this, they nailed it. It's good. It's good. I am a Baldurian too.
Is that so? We clearly move in different circles. So, do you know anything about these worms?
Yes, unfortunately, they'll turn us into mind players. I know we don't want them in our heads. You know as much as I do. Yes, unfortunately, they'll turn us into mind flayers.
Turn us into... Of course it'll turn me into a monster. What else did I expect? Although...
The writing in this is really...
It hasn't happened yet. If we can find an expert, someone that can control these things, there might still be time.
Control it? We need to get rid of it.
Well, yes, of course. But first things first.
You should travel with me. Our odds are better together.
You know, I was ready to go this alone. But maybe sticking with the herd isn't such a bad idea. And you
Did the
seem
little
like a
look down
useful
his nose
person
thing.
to know. All right. I accept. Lead on.
It's made all the worse by the fact that, you know, I'm a dwarf and he's looking down on me to begin with. All right, so I love rogues. I love rogues. Like, rogues do. They're not everyone's favorite class, but my gosh, I freaking love them. Especially at level 2, and the reason for that is because Astarion now gets 3 actions that he gets to do as bonus actions, and that is he can hide, he can dash, and he can disengage. So hide is going to be super useful for like taking sniper shots. You know, like being the knife in the dark, even in melee. Like Larian did a fantastic job at implementing stealth mechanics into this game. So like you can clearly see where people are looking, and so really all you need to do is get out of their line of sight. You hide, you stab them, or you shoot them, and it works great. If you shoot somebody or stab somebody while you are hidden, it is an automatic advantage, which means that if you hit, you get your sneak attack damage. So it's a really solid, consistent way. Well, pseudo-consistent way, because it is sometimes kind of hard to get into the shadows and do, you know, your sneak stuff. But it's a really good pseudo-consistent way of getting your sneak attack damage and a really, really high accuracy as a rogue. So dash, what this means is that Astarion can dash as a bonus action, which means he gets double his speed, but then you can also, if you really have somewhere to move, you can also dash as your regular action, which means that he has potential to do triple his normal speed if he doesn't do any attacks. And that is insane. It also means, like, it's so versatile. So what that means is you can attack, you can move, and then you can dash as a bonus action, get a whole bunch of extra movement. It's like, and then he can also disengage. So disengage, I don't think I've talked about, but I've mentioned that, you know, you've got the opportunity attacks if you're standing. Excuse me, y'all. If you're standing next to somebody and try to move away from them, they get a free attack on you. If you want to move away without having that happen, you can use, typically it's an action, called Disengage, and that allows you to move wherever you want without provoking opportunity attacks. This makes it so that it's a bonus action instead. And what all this means, especially between the dash and the disengage, is that Astarion can go pretty much anywhere he wants to go on a battlefield, which is awesome, which is so awesome. It feels so good to play a rogue, especially when you, especially when you're hiding and you're just picking pot shots. Oh, it's great. It's great. So anyway, that is Astarion's level 2. All right, and I think I'm going to come back in this direction, but for now we are going to cut straight across. Cut straight across. We're going to cut straight across. There we go. Lots of fire to avoid here, so gotta be a little bit careful. I don't walk straight into it. So acid bomb, skull, and a bomb. Cool. I'm gonna head over this way. Yeah, it looks like everybody's
Footprints. There may be even more that survived the crash.
Dead goblins over there. Worth checking for supplies, maybe.
Alright, another healing potion, goblin bow, supply pack. Okay, we're talking about this for a little bit. So, supply packs, I love the way that they did short rest and long rest in this game. Short rest, you get 2 per long rest. And then for a long rest, you only recover all of your HP and all your spell slots if you have at least 40 camp supplies. So that makes it so that you can't just long rest over and over and over again, like, fight one fight and then long rest, and fight one fight and long rest, which is kind of a viable strategy in D&D. Yeah, you're limited to the number of camp supplies that you have, so it's a limited resource, it really is. So you do have to be very cautious and use your short rest and long rest intelligently. One other thing that I'm going to do here is, so I have got these supply packs, and if you notice, I've got 2 supply packs. They're a total of 4 pounds. That means that they're 2 pounds each, which can add up pretty darn quick. But the only time I'm ever going to use these supply packs is in my camp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send both of the supply packs to camp, and I'll always do that with the supply packs. And actually, while I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and pull these Thieves' Tools over to Astarion. Cool. Finish checking these goblins. Got a goblin scimitar. Boom. And a hand axe. Oh, one other thing while I'm thinking about it again. Oh, Astarion already has a bow, which is good. But what I'm going to do is I am going to equip short swords on Astarion. And I am going to have him dual wield. I like dual wielding on a rogue, just because it gives you a whole extra attack to try to get. I know, I'm just having an extra weapon gives you an opportunity to get that sneak attack damage in. But yeah, I'm just like casually sorting my inventory while there's like a broken rift over here. It doesn't matter. It's fine.
It doesn't look real.
You approach the sigil on the stone. Magic glitters and swirls from it erratically, as if malfunctioning. It looks slightly dangerous.
Okay, so this is one of my favorite. Like it's almost like a fourth wall breaking thing right here. Maybe just for me. Maybe I'm just reading way too much into it. But I have been the dungeon master for so many D&D campaigns, and I cannot tell you how many freaking times I have said something similar to this. Like, Listen, players, there's a rift here. It looks slightly dangerous. And you know, every single time that I have said the words, careful, it looks dangerous, what the first reaction is by the players, it's this right here. It's, oh, it looks dangerous? Let me touch it. Let me lick it. Every time. Every time. So, I don't know. I don't know if they did this on purpose. This is just my dungeon master mentality coming through. It feels like it is intentional. But I'm totally gonna touch it.
A hand? Anyone?
Who are you?
Just your average traveler stuck between realms. Pull me out, and we'll get properly introduced.
I'm gonna try slapping the hand. I don't know if this is a bad idea.
Ow! Perhaps I should have clarified. A helping hand. Anyone?
Okay, alright, so, spoiler alert. This is Gale. I freaking love Gale. Just, out of all of the fantastic actors in this guy is my favorite. Like, the inflection that he puts into every single syllable is just perfect. Just perfect. And the way that Gale's written is just wonderful. I freaking love Gale. Alright, so yeah, we're gonna grab the hand. I think last time that I talked a little bit about guidance, but I will re-emphasize here. So Shadowheart has a cantrip, and cantrip being something that you can cast over and over and over and over and over again, does not use up any resources. But she has a cantrip called Guidance, and what Guidance does is it gives you an additional 1d4 to any ability check. This is, in any properly played Dungeons & Dragons game and in Baldur's Gate 3, Guidance is your most used spell. You should be using Guidance every single time that you possibly can, which is a lot. An extra 1d4 is a big deal. Alright, here we go. Nailed.
That's it! Go on! Keep pulling!
And the rip stopped fizzing.
Oh. Hello. I'm Gale of Waterdeep. Apologies. I'm usually better at this.
Add introductions? That's great. Not wasting the time of passing adventurers? I certainly hope so. But I will go with no need to apologize. Are you alright?
A bit shocked, but friend, it's a relief and a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Say, but I know you,
Great.
don't I? In a manner of speaking. You were on the nautiloid as well.
Never mind the nautiloid. How did you get stuck in that stone? You don't trust this man. Draw your weapon. I was, yes.
And I can only assume you too were on the receiving end of a rather unwelcome insertion in the ocular region.
I love Gale. Couldn't have phrased it more repellently myself. Yeah.
No use sugarcoating it, is there? The insertee we speak of, this parasite, are you aware that after a period of excruciating gestation, it will turn us into mind flayers? It's a process known as ceramorphosis, and let me assure you, it is to be avoided. You don't happen to be a cleric by any chance, do you? A doctor? Surgeon? Uncannily adroit with a knitting needle?
You seem to know enough about our condition to realize it's beyond most clerics' skills.
Most, no doubt, but I find myself hoping to be in the presence of the few. You don't happen to be one of them.
Like even the motion capture in this, like he puts so much life in all of his words, but like even like the, you know, but I hope finding, yeah, but I find myself hoping to be in the presence of the few. Just great. I'm just impressed with this game. This game is great. I'm he's a nerd. He is a massive nerd. But I can relate. I feel him. Alright, I can tend to basic wounds and ailments, but alien parasites I'm afraid not. I go with my paladin option here.
As we've established, few enough can. It's not exactly a common affliction. We're most certainly going to need a healer, and soon, too. How about we lend each other a helping hand once more and look for a healer together?
Sounds like a plan. You're welcome to join me.
Most excellent. A parasite shared is a parasite halved. Or something to that effect. Oh, but before you think you're about to embark on a journey with most ill-mannered a man, thank you for pulling me out of that stone. It was an act of foresighted kindness, I assure you. For I have the feeling ample opportunities will present themselves for me to return the favor.
All right. So Gale. Let's go ahead and level up, and I'll talk a couple strategy sort of things with Gale. All right. So I mentioned that Rogue is just about my favorite class, and the reason that I can't say that it's my favorite class is because Wizard is my favorite class. I freaking love wizards in D&D 5th edition, and 4th edition, and 3rd edition, and 3.5, and Pathfinder. And also whenever I say that I don't like spells that are just damage, because spells can do so much more, it's, again, because of wizards. Wizards have a huge assortment of, yeah, damaging spells, definitely, but they also have a huge assortment of spells that can totally change the nature of the fight that you are currently in. And I will be going through those. So, wizards, at level 2, get to pick what their specialization is in. And specializations all have, like, a couple of really, like, sometimes really great bonuses, sometimes bonuses, but for the most part, they're pretty awesome. So, like, for example, evocation is generally the attack type of spell. So this will be things like magic missile. This will be things like Melf's acid arrow. This will be things like burning hands. Like, generally, whenever you think of wizards like that are shooting stuff to damage, it's going to be evocation. So evocation, the school of evocation is actually a really strong school, because, well, actually, let me back up a little bit. So first off, wizards have a limited number of spells that they learn, but they can learn all of them that are in their class list. Every level, you pick 2 spells from your class list, and you just learn those spells. And they're put into, like, your spell book. But you can also, whenever you find scrolls that have spells on them, you can spend gold and transcribe those spells into your spell book, and then they're permanently available for the wizard to prepare and cast. So every one of the schools has a discount, a 50% discount, to learning spells of that particular class, or of that particular school of spell. Evocation spells are plentiful. They are your damage dealing spells. If you want to go that direction, going the evocation school is definitely the good option This is one of the things that make Evocation School Wizards so good. So this is sculpt spells, and if you take a look at the description here, it says create pockets of safety within your evocation spells. Allies automatically succeed their saving throws against these spells and take no damage from them. So that means that, like, oh hey, you want to cast a big, huge, enormous fireball, and oh darn, the melee guys are right in the thick of it. Hey, they automatically succeed on their saving throw, and they will take no damage from the fireball. That is a big deal. Evocation is a powerful spell school. Oh, I'm losing my voice again. And I don't know if you heard that, but it sounds like I'm out of water. So evocation's very straightforward. But here is my problem. I don't like spells that do damage and damage alone, which means that even though evocation is a super strong school, I'm not going to pick it. Instead, I'm going to go with divination. Divination, there are hardly any good divination spells that I'm going to care about having the 50% discount on. So I don't care about that too terribly much. What I do care about is Portent. Portent is one of my favorite features of any class in this game. So, whenever you take a long rest, you have 2 Portent dice. They're just d20s. They're rolled at the beginning of the day. You take note of what the d20s are. But during the day, you can use your reaction to replace a roll with one of your Portent dice. So, let's say you roll your Portent dice for the day and you end up with 2 really high rolls. That means that if there is an attack that really needs to hit from your companions, and they just whiff it, like they roll a 1. I mean, just horrible roll. What you can do is you can say, nope, that 1 does not exist. I'm replacing it with my higher roll from my Portent dice. Likewise, if you roll really low on your Portent dice, and let's say you cast a spell that has a saving throw against an enemy, and you really need that spell to take effect on that enemy, but the enemy rolls their saving throw really high, guess what? You got 2 really low Portent dice that you can use to replace their really successful rolls with really low rolls, and therefore your spell takes effect. I'm going to lose my voice here in a second. So what I think I'm going to do is I am going to end it now, and next time we come back, we will talk about Gale, we'll talk about all the spells that he has available, we'll talk about my favorite spells, including spells like Grease. And we'll come back to it. But guys, I really appreciate you joining. I really appreciate you watching, and yeah, it means a lot to have you here. So we will catch you again on Saturday at